Model railroading is not just a rabbit hole. It is a massive chasm that someone looking to get started in the hobby looks at and probably thinks, whoa, that's a lot of letters, abbreviations, and acronyms. It's 2026, and model railroading is probably at its most diverse point in terms of what you can do. But getting started can be a nightmare for a beginner. What scale do I pick? What's the difference between gauge and scale? Why did they put an extra C on DC? In this video, I'm going to go over everything that you need to know to get started in model railroading and give you some recommendations that hopefully won't cause your wallet to quit in protest. Real quick, this video is brought to you by Model Railroad Academy. It is an online community of model railroaders where members can get all sorts of tips, tricks, tutorials, ideas for all sorts of model railroad related things. The first 1,000 people that use the link in my description will get a full year of premium membership to Model Railroad Academy for $1.49. That's like 90% off the annual membership, and this offer is valid for new members only. Thank you so much to Model Railroad Academy for supporting this video. Now, if you know absolutely nothing about model railroading and model trains, here's the most basic definition. Model trains are scale models based off of real-world prototype railroad engines and cars. The vast majority are powered through electrically energized rails. The cheap toy trains that, while fun, are something that I would not consider a proper model train in terms of the category. The first decision you need to make is, what scale do I want to model in? Different scales have different popularity levels and benefits. Now, scales are the size of the model relative to the actual real-world prototype. The most popular scale globally is HO scale. HO scale is 1 to 87th, so 1 foot in HO scale equals 87 scale feet. HO scale is over 60% of the model railroad market, and it has the most company support. Here are some other scales to choose from. The most widely available scales are HO scale at 1 to 87th, N scale to 1 to 1/60th, and O scale at 1 to 48th. These three are the most widely available scales. If you're in the UK though, the most popular scale is OO, which is 1 to 76, but it runs on the same size track as HO scale. Now this actually brings up the point of the difference between scale and gauge. It's pretty simple. Scale is the size of the model relative to the size of the real world prototype and what percentage it is. Gauge is the width between the rails of the track. So when you hear HO gauge, you're looking at a width versus HO scale, you're looking at the size. That's why OO scale locomotives and trains can run on HO gauge track. Also, fun fact, N scale, it stands for 9 in N. So, now there actually are several other scales that, while not as popular, still have manufacturer support. Z scale is 1 to 220th, TT scale is 1 to 120th, S scale is 1 to 64th, which by the way, that is Hot Wheels and Matchbox size. And G gauge or Garden scale has a variety of them that vary from 1/32nd to 1/20.5 scale. And each of these scales run on that Garden Railroad gauge track with a different letter. There's A, G, F. I think there's one more in there as well. There's also a few other ones you may see like T scale and things like that, but these are the main ones that are supported by multiple manufacturers. HO scale is a good balance of size and detail with the most available. N scale is half the size of HO scale and the second most popular with a lot of manufacturer support and is good for people with limited space. It's actually what I model in. O scale is the classic model trains. Think Lionel trains running around the Christmas tree. The most common O scale has 3 rails on the track, with the center rail being a power rail. And there's also 2 rail track for O scale, but those are different, so don't get those mixed up. You're most likely going to run into 3 rail O scale when you're looking around though. Okay, so you've picked a scale. Now we need to get some trains. On that note, let's get some terminology out of the way that's going to help you out. A train is a connected set, including a locomotive or locomotives and rolling stock. Locomotive is the engine. Rolling stock are the train cars. Let's talk about ways to power the trains. DC is direct current, just like with everything else, and it is the analog way to power trains. DCC is digital command and control, and this is the digital way to control trains through pulse width modulation through the rails. DC is cheaper, but DCC has more features like controllable lights and sound, as well as more freedom in controlling the trains. You're going to be able to have multiple trains operating on a single section of track versus DC, you can only have one. The simplest way to think of all of this is that DC can only control one train at a time on the track, and DCC can control multiple trains, and you can add in features like lights and sounds. DC is also cheaper, and the power supplies and locomotives are cheaper, but DCC is more flexible in terms of what you can run and what you can run at the same time, and it has more expensive base stations for powering the layout and locomotives. Now for the fun part. What should you buy to get started? For the longest time, I've always recommended just picking up a starter set, but that's actually changed. First of all, if I'm setting a number that can get you started with a train and some track, I would say that about $500 is a good starter number to get everything and get you going. I mean, everything. You can go cheaper than that, but that's going to be a good starter point. Now, you have a couple of directions that you can go with this. First, let's talk about track. I'm recommending the Kato Unitrack HM1 Basic Track Oval with Power Pack. It's about $170 right here, and it gets you a large oval with a Power Pack. It's not too dissimilar from this right here, which is actually the Kato HV1, which is just an oval that runs outside of the HM1. You can put them together like that. This does not come with a Power Pack. The HM1 does. Now, this is about the cost of some smaller starter sets at $170, but you get high quality track, a really good power pack, and you're buying into a well thought out ecosystem from Kato. Now, Bachmann offers similar items with their Easy Track system as well. Please note that these two track systems are not easily compatible. Next, the engine. You're going to want an engine that is from a solid brand and doesn't break the bank. These are things like Athearn Roundhouse, Walther's Mainline, and their GP15 from their train line, which is less expensive, and some options from Bachmann like their Jeep 40. These are good middle of the road and budget options that can grow with your journey in the hobby. All of these are known as DCC ready, which means that out of the box, they only run DC, but they have a quick connect plug that lets you plug in a DCC decoder to turn the locomotive into a DCC engine, just like that. It's really easy, I promise. There are budget steam engines out there, but generally diesel is going to be cheaper. Now for rolling stock. These are the train cars. You're going to hear a lot of similar names with this. Walther's Train Line is a great budget option. Athearn Roundhouse, there's some offerings from Bachmann that are budget friendly. Bowser is another good brand that you can find good deals on. These brands will get you going on rolling stock, and these brands are not premium ones, but they are solid and will do you just fine. Okay, so that's track, power, locomotive, and rolling stock. Now, if you want some buildings, I would look at something like Walther's. They have both kits and built-up buildings that they can get you going. There's a lot of options for this out there, but Walther's has a variety, and they have ones that are intended for beginners and people that are just starting out. Now, you may want to look at some other track options, and there's some important things you need to know. There are different track heights in model railroading. The two most common in HO scale are code 100 and code 83. The 100 means 100/1000ths of an inch or 0.1 inch, and code 83, which means 83/1000ths of an inch. Bachmann Easy Track is popular, but go with the nickel silver rails. That's the one with the gray roadbed versus the black roadbed. It's also code 100 track. Kato Unitrack is made of that same nickel silver, and it is code 83 track. Atlas is another one that makes a lot of track. They have some pre-attached roadbed, but most of their track is standard set and flex track. They offer both code 100 and code 83 track. It's all nickel silver. Code 100 has the black ties, and code 83 has the brown ties. There are other manufacturers for track out there, like Pico is the one that comes to mind right there, but this is what you're going to run into the most when you're at some sort of model train store. So to recap, for HO scale, a starter track pack like Kato's HO M1 and a DCC ready locomotive, some budget rolling stock, and some Walther's buildings, and you can try some different track if you want to. Now let's move to N scale, which is my scale. Now in N scale, I'm going to recommend a starter set, but only Kato starter sets. Bachmann starter sets are fine, but Kato gives you more flexibility in the future. The locomotives are the same quality as the ones you buy individually, and they are just overall way easier to move further in the hobby without having to get brand new stuff. They are more expensive, but they give you a full loop of track, a great DC power pack, a DCC ready locomotive, and some pretty nice rolling stock that's exactly on par with the rest of their offerings. Plus, Kato is one of the rare in-scale primary companies and has a massive track ecosystem built out to include expansion packs and all sorts of items. Seriously, lots of expansion packs. If you don't want to go this route, you can also buy a Kato M1 set that has a loop of track and power. Kato also sells train sets without track and power, which makes it easy to grow your model railroad empire quickly. You can buy just basically sets of these trains, passenger, freight, they have them both. Basically, if you're looking to get started in N-Scale, I would start with Kato. It's very reliable and it's actually pretty affordable. Now for rolling stock. I can really recommend 3 brands. Kato is going to have your passenger cars more than likely. They have a lot of great offerings for passenger cars and passenger train sets. Microtrains is a great option. They were recently bought by Atlas, but Atlas makes a lot of N-Scale, so I suspect that Microtrains is still going to be around for a long time. The final brand is Athearn. Athearn makes good quality rolling stock that often gets overlooked in N-Scale in favor of others because they're an HO primary company and people don't really think of them that much. Now for track, I highly recommend Kato Unitrack for any N-Scaler, especially one starting out. My entire layout is Kato Unitrack. If you're looking for more options, you're likely going to run into brands like Atlas and Pico. The 2 most common track heights in N-Scale are code 80, which is what Kato Unitrack is, and code 55. N-Scale gets a little tougher on buildings. Pre-built buildings are available from Bachmann, Walthers, and Woodland Scenics. You can get N-Scale kits from Walthers and Design Preservation Models. Design Preservation Models are great, very simple kits. Plus a few others like Faller and Kibri. Now, if you're looking at O-Scale, that is where I have the least knowledge of the big 3. The big brand there is Lionel, and they have a little bit of everything that you'll need. Another brand that you can actually look at that's going to kind of come out of left field when you hear this is Menards. That's right, the home improvement store Menards. They actually have a lot of O-Scale offerings, including starter sets. Now, there are several channels out there like RBP Trains and Eric's Trains that can get you more info on O-Scale. I'm just not the best source for O-Scale. My primary knowledge is in N-Scale followed by HO-Scale. Now, a lot of you may say that I didn't mention brands like Scale Trains, Rapido, Tangent, Broadway Limited, or others. These brands are amazing, and I have a lot of stuff by them right over here. But I also don't necessarily consider them starter brands in the hobby. They have a lot of detail. They're not the cheapest parts. They're premium offerings. And they are for people who know what they want in the hobby and what they want to spend their money on. If you're just getting started, you're not there and you really want to wade in rather than jumping in head first. You don't want to go and spend $200 or $300 on an engine only to figure out that you don't really love this hobby because it can get really expensive really quick. If you are looking to get into model railroading, welcome to the world's greatest hobby. It's a fun, family-friendly place that welcomes all. We are a diverse global community and you're guaranteed to find a place here. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, and happy railroading.